I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power, and coming up next on WAYO-LP Rochester is The Sound of Tomorrow, where we have a little potpourri for you. We are not actually giving out gifts of potpourri or anything like that. Don't get excited. We don't really have actual potpourri for you to use to scent your homes or
Excuse me.
anything like
Pardon me.
that.
Pardon me.
Do
Pardon
you
me.
do you have some
I
potpourri?
I
Do you have
believe
some
they're called
potpourri?
I believe they're called sachets. Please continue.
We don't have any sachets. We don't have any bath bombs. We don't have any of those ornamental dishes that people used to have in the 90s that they had in their all white living rooms with the potpourri just in a dish.
Where your
But we do
cat
have
could
a
get it.
potpourri because where your cat could get it. Sometimes we don't have any catnip for you either. In fact, we probably don't really have anything for you on the show today. But what we think we have is a little bit of history. We've got a little bit of lunch. Again, not giving out lunch. Stop it. We're on the radio. Why? Why do you need us to give you things? You need to stop that. We've got some size inclusion and we've got some snowflakes. But first,
Hey Heather, how you? Oh my God! Whoa! What is that? Oh my God! Oh! Whoa. Hold on 1 second.
jeez.
Whew. Woo, doggy. Look, so wow, okay. Hi. I don't mean to be I can taste it. I don't mean to be insensitive, but what is that smell?
What do you mean?
What do I mean? Well, okay, Heather, I don't know how else to say this, but it smells a little like poo poo in here. And when I say a little, I mean like, whoa, holy poo poo. And when I say in here, I mean specifically where you are in space and time right now.
Ross, what are you saying?
You smell like a poo poo, Heather. Not just a
I
poo poo, but
smell
like,
like I always smell.
I disagree.
Well, I haven't done anything different.
Huh. Okay, well, what have you done today? Give me an idea.
Let's see. I went to the bovine auction early this morning, and then I picked up some feed grain, bought some early supplies for the fall calving season, and then I checked the nitrogen levels in my soil to make sure that the quality is sufficient for the new plantings.
Okay, wait. You didn't just like sit in front of a computer all day? Isn't that your normal thing?
Well, of course, Ross. Plenty of the cattle auctions are conducted online these days. And it's also important that I keep up with the legume futures.
Okay, no, but I could be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure that your job has never involved cattle nor legumes.
What kind of job doesn't involve cattle or legumes?
Oh, jeez. Oh
What?
my gosh.
What?
Oh, okay.
What?
Okay. Okay.
What?
So it just occurred to me. Do you remember how, like, a couple of weeks ago, you went back in time to shut me up about He-Man, and then you inadvertently made me not gay?
Rings a bell.
Right. Okay, so I didn't tell you about this, but I went back in time to fix it, and it worked because I'm totally gay again. Yay! Glitter bomb. But
Yay!
I thank you. I mean,
Absolutely. I'm here to celebrate.
let's be a little supportive, please. I just came out of the closet. Um, but
But
I
you've
must
always
have,
been gay.
well, not, but for, there was that brief, I don't know how time travel works. Anyway,
Huh.
I don't know how gay time travel works, Heather. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a gay scientist. I didn't study gay science in time travel school. I don't know. But the problem is, so I went back in time, right? And I feel like maybe it's possible, maybe could be, I don't know. I'm just saying it's possible that I changed the course of your life. And Heather, I think I did something that made you into a carny.
Carney? I'm not a carney.
Okay, Heather, let's look at the evidence. Smells like manure. Or a rich loam, if you prefer.
I do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, doing stuff with cows.
Who
Eating
doesn't?
legumes, as best as I can tell, all the time.
Delicious and nutritious.
Who else but circus folk? Seriously, not that I'm judging, but
Ross, I am a farmer,
Oh,
not circus folk. Just like
that's
my
boring.
grandparents. I wanted to be a farmer ever since I was a little girl, and I met that strange hairy man who wouldn't shut up about green acres.
Uh-oh. Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
wait a minute.
Oh boy.
Strange hairy man wouldn't shut up about a weird old sitcom. Ross, was that you?
Okay, it's just that while I was in the past, I figured it wouldn't do any harm if I took some time out to introduce little Heather to some freaking culture. I mean, Jesus, the closest you get to haute cuisine is that Paris Hilton cooking show. So I thought I'd tell you about a classic, an important classic part of our American culture and history, and maybe you'd grow up with a little more sophistication. How was I to know that you'd completely ignore the sly, surrealist humor of Green Acres and just get really into the part about farming?
I do really love farming.
You know, you actually don't smell all that much worse than when you had a desk job.
Can I offer you a legume?
Can I offer you some rich loam?
Why, yes. I always need more. I'm a farmer.
I just have some in my pocket.
Of course you do. Doesn't
Yep.
everybody?
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. As always, welcome back to a brand new Sound of Tomorrow right here on WAYO, LP Rochester.
Instead of the space bridge, I just thought of this 10 years too late. We should have had the Welcome Shack, and then you could welcome back to the Welcome Shack. This is going to be a rough show. I can tell already, even by that.
Oh, that would have been good, though.
Just that
And
thing
we
I
could
said.
have rewritten Love Shack to be Welcome Shack.
Right, and then we'd get sued
And you
by
could have
Fred
done all the
Schneider,
yelling part.
and we'd get to meet him in court. Can
Well,
you
we'd
do
get
the
to meet him.
Can you do the Rock Lobster part where they go make the Rock Lobster noise?
I don't know. I can't.
All right. Well, then I
I
guess that idea is
we
shot.
I've tried that experiment.
Yeah, I'm not even going to
I'm
try to
not good.
do
I can't.
I'm not even going to try to do my impression of that because it's humans can't do it. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't do it. I can try, but I fail. I fail badly. And believe it or not, this is something that I've tried recently.
Have you?
Didn't work well. Yeah, so I think instead of getting sued by Fred Schneider, he would want to come and do the voices.
That's true. He'd be like, "Look,
Yeah,
people, if you're going to do it,
yeah. Let me
this
help you out.
this is the weird thing. This is going to be a rough show. You can tell by just how we're starting here. So everybody just
Yeah,
buckle
don't
up
worry about it.
because it's going to be a rough ride. The Here's the weird thing about the B-52s. Like, you really can't sing along. Like,
It's
how are
hard.
they such a fun, popular party band that you cannot sing along to?
Yeah, it is. It's tough because you'd think like the yelly bits. That's got to be easy. It's just a yelly bit, and then it's not.
No, because
Right? It's
nobody
kind
sounds
of
like
easy to yell "funky little shack,"
right.
but it's kind of tough. And then the women in that group have such gorgeous voices and harmonies. You'd think
Mhm.
like, "Oh, it's great. I just singing like a girl, right?"
Yeah,
And it's like, no, no, these are very, very talented singers, and not
yeah.
everybody at karaoke can quite hit that, despite them trying.
And even Fred Schneider, like nobody sounds like Fred Schneider. So you're like,
Yeah,
I'm going to
no,
sing along with Rock Lobster, and you're like, it was a Rock Lobster, and it doesn't. It just sounds
yeah,
stupid. It's really
right.
dumb.
Yeah,
So
it is. You know, you're right that it's weird that they are such a popular, fun, well known band,
yeah,
and it's tough to sing along unless you're just doing it purely for fun and you're not self conscious at
right.
all, and you don't even care if you like are trying to sound like the song.
And maybe that's the trick. Maybe the B-52s invite you to
Yeah,
not worry too much about it and just sing along as best you can.
that that's entirely possible. I don't think I've seen a lot of interviews with them or anything, but in my mind, they are as nice and fun and cool as they seem in their public image.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I don't know for a
I
fact
think it
either, but
is.
it
I
seems
have
like
not I've never seen any scandalous stuff like, on one of those aggregator sites where people are like the best and worst celebrity encounters, and then
hmm
things are scraped off of Twitter where people are like, I met so and so when I was working as a waiter. And it's either a really nice story or a really horrible one.
Yeah. Um,
But I've never seen any really good ones either. I've never seen any about the B-52s at all.
Maybe they just hang out at home. Maybe they're just doing stuff.
Wouldn't
So,
surprise me. They also seem a little like they could possibly be chill.
so thank you for tuning in to our completely uninformed B-52s podcast. Um,
Where we just talk about our feelings about the
we
B-52s.
probably should
We
have
don't really know anything.
no
It's
facts
just from the
whatsoever.
hearts. It's not from our minds.
No,
It is just really how we feel when we think about the B-52s.
we didn't even go to their wiki page or anything. I mean, it's literally
No, didn't
zero,
look up a thing. Yeah, we
literally
didn't
zero
listen
effort.
to any records to prepare for this. This is just really straight from the heart.
Um, Speaking of from the heart, let me. You know what?
Ooh,
There was a fun little. I just saw a fun little news bit today, a little newsy bit. I thought I would share with you because
I
so
want to hear a
Friday,
fun newsy bit.
right? So Friday. This is the preface to this. This isn't the news bit. Friday we went to see the new Candyman movie, the new Nia DaCosta directed, Jordan Peele produced and co-written movie thing, which we enjoyed very much, and Mike enjoyed
Sounds
very much.
scary.
It's scary. Mike enjoyed very much, and I was a little surprised because Mike doesn't always like that kind of movie.
Like
Um,
horror
mo-
films?
Movies, no movies about candy. He really does
Oh,
not
yeah,
enjoy. Yeah, no, yeah, he doesn't always like scary movies unless they're like if it's like a spooky haunted house story. But he doesn't always love horror movies where it's they're sort of violent and that kind of thing. But
oh,
he
well,
really
I
loved it.
mean, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't think I can watch it. I think it's much too scary for me and I couldn't possibly handle it.
Yeah, it's a little goopy for you. It's a little,
Yeah, yeah.
it's got chunks and things. But
Yep. Yeah, no, no, no.
the cool thing about this is, so can now I don't know what movie theater economics are anymore. Like I don't know what is in terms of like dollar amounts. I don't know what's good, what's bad. It's just because things are so people still aren't going to theaters half the time. Now the movie is like, oh, you can just pay us and stream it at home. So it's I don't know what's good anymore. But what is definitely good is that so Candyman was the number one movie. It made $22.3 million in its opening weekend. Again, I don't know. In this
Wow.
day and age, I don't know if that's good or bad or not. But this is the first time ever in history that a black woman has directed a movie that's been the number one movie.
Yes, that's awesome.
So yeah, which I mean,
That is very cool.
about time.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I guess, there are many facets to that are not included in the awesome because should have
Yeah.
been way sooner.
Well,
But
and and it's what's nice about it too is I don't know. I feel like we've been through this before culturally, where it's like there's a movie with some black people in it, and hopefully behind the scenes as well, and it'll do well, and it'll be like, and people will be like, oh, finally, okay, studios will get the
mhm.
idea from this that black people will pay to see movies, and it is worth it to us to make, and what hopefully white people as well will go to see movies with
Mhm.
black people, as I obviously did this weekend. So clearly,
Mhm.
I am proof of this. But so this so we've done this thing where this people will go, oh, this is it, this proves that we can make movies for black people and it's financially fine and good. And then studios seem to kind of forget about that forever. And then a movie will come out and just happen to do well. So I think this recent cycle, I mean, I think we have to give Jordan Peele a lot of credit, because I think Get
Mhm.
Out sort of did so well that,
Yes.
and that I mean, there's also, I mean, Tyler Perry too, but I feel like the Tyler Perry movies are very, and nothing wrong with Tyler Perry in the least. I feel like the Tyler Perry movies are very narrowly marketed. Like these are movies that black people will like, and black people, they're just very specifically marketed as opposed to more broadly marketed.
Mhm.
And I think that's fine. I mean, again, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with Tyler Perry, and nothing wrong with Tyler Perry movies. Any of that, I have tremendous respect for him as well. But I don't know if it's the same kind of thing as the sort of um, you know, movies made for black people, by and for black people that speak to black people, but then are marketed to everybody. So,
Mhm, mhm.
you know, this movie's about black people. It's speaking directly to black people. It's made by black people. But hey, everybody should come and see it.
Right.
That kind of thing. And that seems to be going on right now, and that seems to be a thing. And I don't know, I like
I like it
that.
too. I am here for it. I'll be honest with you, like Get Out was about as scary a movie as I can handle.
Mhm.
And I was with a nice friend who did the thing where I could not look at the screen when it got too scary.
Okay.
And then they'd tell me when it was okay to watch again. Because
Okay.
that is what going to a scary movie with me is like.
Sure.
That, or I watch a lot of it through my fingers. And so I don't really get to see it because I'm such a chicken. But I have a little story here that's kind of along those lines of like a great thing also about freaking time, but at
Okay.
least it's something good.
All right.
Did you hear that Old Navy is not going to differentiate larger sizes of clothing from smaller sizes anymore?
Oh, I did see something about that.
It's great. It sounds to me like Old Navy is not going to do anymore what was referred to in the past as plus size clothing, which I think is clothing
Well, they had the
for a
husky
human.
section, right? And they had the husky section
Right.
and the
Yeah, right. The misses, you know.
the Edna Turnblatt
Um,
corner.
but it sounds pretty good to me. And it says here I've got an article from WZTV that I think I scraped off the local news about how major clothing retailer Old Navy says it's redefining size inclusion and will offer every size for every woman without a price difference and without different sections, which
Yeah,
that's another great thing. There's no markup.
yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I don't know, how much the markup was, or if there was always a markup, but I'm glad that there's none. And then I don't. I guess I feel like the idea of having separate sections for stuff like that is an idea whose it seems as a practical matter. I don't know why people still need that. You know what I mean? If they ever did,
Right.
but I don't know what the putting aside anything about inclusion or anything along those lines, just as even a practical matter, like I don't know, I feel like average people sort of straddle those areas and things are made differently, and I mean to
Mhm.
I don't know, I feel like just put all this stuff together anyway, it just makes sense to me.
Well, it does. And the other thing I do know is that this will mean that the same options are available for people with a lot of different sized bodies.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, extra small to 4X, that sounds like a pretty good range to me. I think that's still not completely inclusive. I think it's a step in the right direction, which is great. But what I know is in the stores where there's just the little like 3 racks of larger garments in the back, there's not
Mhm.
nearly the selection. There's not the style. There's not all of the different things that you could pick from the rest of the store with the smaller sizes. So this is really nice too, because then you hear so much about someone who is maybe a 4X looking at something and saying like, "Oh, I wish this were in my size." Or Nicole Byer, famous comedian and favorite of mine, she's often talking about how if she sees something she likes, she buys two, and then she's learned to sew so she can cut them up and put them together to make a garment to fit her body. And this means there's going to be more stuff that's just going to fit a lot of people of many more sizes, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah,
And there's
hopefully.
also going to be mannequins in size 4, 12, and 18,
Okay.
which is a lot more representation than the size 2 model.
Yeah.
And there's some good statements about how they're trying to make meaningful change to the women's shopping experience, which honestly is just good marketing
Yeah.
on their behalf. Like, this is just a way to make money.
Yeah.
It's nice, it's inclusion, but it's not like the store is shooting themselves in the foot or something.
I mean, the only thing that worries me when I think about it is, you know, if you have a I think this is a step in the right direction. So don't get me wrong.
Mhm, mhm,
A
mhm.
very good step in the right direction. This is the way it should be.
Yes.
I would worry in the short term, like, so now you have a dedicated plus size or whatever you call it section, right? That you have to keep stocked. Um,
Mhm.
I would worry a little bit. I mean, I hope this doesn't mean that, oh, we have one three, we put one extra 3X shirt on the rack with the other ones. You know what I mean? Like, I guess when you had a dedicated section, you
Yeah.
sort of had to keep that stocked with different stuff.
Uh,
Now I worry that it would be easy for the stuff to get lost in among the other stuff. I mean, to not have, oh, we've got 87, I don't know what lady sizes are, but say we've got 87 mediums and we've got of these we've got 12 mediums and 14 larges and a dozen extra larges, and then any other size we've got maybe one, and if it's gone that's it. You know what I mean? It might be easy for the stuff to, I I would worry about that a little bit
and
for,
I think we'll have to see how that goes.
yeah.
I am I'm gonna say I'm 99.9% positive at the rollout of this. That is definitely not going to happen because this is a major marketing campaign. Let's face it. Like this is to get the store in the view of the public and to get people going like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to go there now because I can buy clothes for myself."
Yeah.
So I think at least at first they're going to make sure to have the clothes for themselves.
Mhm.
And what I'm kind of hoping to do is just, you see all kinds of stuff on social media, just see how that goes. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess they say they have all these, but they're not stocking them.
Yeah, I mean that's my concern. It's really having a separate section, which again I'm not in favor of, and it's also stigmatizing. But having a separate section means you can't have an empty corner of the store with no clothes in it.
Right. You
Whereas,
can't. But the thing I always disliked about this section is they don't have, like I said, the variety that's available in the smaller sizes throughout the store. So if there's this small section, but it's all these like ill fitting, not very stylish garments, but there's plenty of them.
right, but this is also no guarantee that they're going to have that stuff. You know what I mean? Like just getting rid and mixing in the quote unquote plus size with the regulars, right? Regular. I mean, I'm using the terms that the stores use, just for lack of you know, women shopping
I know. Well,
terminology.
don't worry about it because it's hard for women as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing about all of these sizes because I'll tell you, I walk into an Old Navy and I look at the garments and I'm like, I these numbers and letters mean nothing to me.
Yeah. So I just hope, I guess my point is I just hope this isn't a way to make the to I could see this as a way to also not have to worry about the plus size stuff. We don't have to get in as much because we don't have to fill a whole section. You know what I mean? And you're right, at the outset it won't be that, but I think it's something that people should probably keep an eye on.
And
Cause
I'm thinking people will because if this is just a marketing scheme to get attention, I feel like it's not going to go that well for the company.
yeah.
But there were a couple things that I really liked that they put in their mission statement. They're going to do scans. They've done scans of 389 women to create digital avatars based on real women's bodies. Important. Because I'll tell you, there are some garments I'm like, for whom was this created?
Okay.
And
Right.
how are their proportions?
Right.
Like, it'll fit me everywhere except it's 3 feet too long. And I'm like, who is my exact size, but with legs
Yeah.
3 feet longer than mine? I understand I'm short legged, but so that's going to benefit everybody. There were clinics with numerous models in sizes 20 to 28 to build new fit blocks based on proportions. They're working on like a less cookie cutter design of garments. And so pocket placement, for instance, on a smaller garment is different than on a larger garment.
Okay.
So there's going to be variation in that, which again, that's just going to make for style, fit, aesthetics, even usability of the pockets. And they partnered with full time fit models in that size 8 to 20 to review the styles. And they interviewed hundreds of women about body image and related fashion concerns.
Eh,
It's a start, you know?
yeah. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
It's something. It didn't make me angry to see.
Right. No, it's a good. I mean, it's definitely a good. Like I said, I get. I feel like I've been burned so many times by the clothing industry. uh,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. No, I mean,
but
the clothing industry is not necessarily, as much as this sounds like, Old Navy is here to uplift women. Old Navy is here to sell us as much as possible
yeah,
and
and
make money.
and some of it, even with the some of that just makes sense. Like the stuff they were talking about, like, making things that fit people. I mean, you're going to buy stuff if it fits you
Right.
better and looks better on you that you might not buy otherwise.
Yes.
Now Old Navy's cheap. So sometimes you'll buy stuff anyway.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're just
Well,
like,
that's the
well, this
thing.
is a little weird, but all right, it's $6. What do I care?
Yes. And then sometimes, like, if you do the thing where you're like, oh, I'm just going to pick up a couple t-shirts in my size. You get them home, they don't quite fit right. Eh, you figure I'll wear them for cleaning out the garage or whatever.
Sure. It's Old
You
Navy.
know, it's Old Navy. But anyhow, I liked seeing this, and it's always nice to have just a little teeny spot of bright news.
I love it.
Even if we
Um,
have slight misgivings, we will follow up on this if we learn anything more.
I I was trying to segue into something pleasant. I don't really have anything. I have so I'm gonna segue into lunch.
I
I'm
love
just
lunch because I've
literally
got,
gonna leave
don't you
for
worry,
lunch.
don't you worry. I've got something else unpleasant coming up.
All right. So this is just I don't really this is I don't even know if I should bring this up because I don't really have anything to say about it except what's predictable. So this just sort of I don't know, this just struck me right in the heart, I guess. So the Waukesha school Waukesha I think I'm saying that wrong, but it's a school district in Milwaukee, in the suburbs of
Okay.
Milwaukee. They There's a federally funded program to give free meals to students. There's a new federally funded program, basically to give, and this is since the pandemic, to provide school lunches for all students without the normal sort of income tests and things like that. The idea being that
Oh,
people are in a particularly, I mean, a hopefully this could become permanent because you know the more reasonably our kids are eating, the better they're going to learn, and that's better for
yes.
everybody. But so the school board, the Waukesha School District, they decided that they are going to reject this free federal money to provide school lunches for their students, because there were a few different quotes here. They felt that students might get spoiled if they had food to eat, for instance, if they had a reasonable amount of calories.
Oh,
Um,
wow. So if
they
they had nourishment for their bodies and vitamins and minerals, and they weren't suffering hunger pangs, this might spoil them
they might get spoiled. They could get addicted to having an appropriate
to
amount of
having
calories,
food to eat. They
having
could,
food to eat. So they are turning. So they have voted to. I mean, and this isn't money that comes out of their pocket. This is not money that comes out of the local pocket. This is not money that comes out of even Wisconsin's pocket. This is money that comes out of the federal government, that they don't get anything for not taking it. I mean, there's no like they don't get to trade it in for a car or something. I mean, it's you take it or you just don't. It's like if I came to you and was like, "Well, I have $500 here for you," and you were like, "Nope," and I'd be like, "Well, nope, then you get nothing. Take it or don't."
sure.
Except if I offered you $500, you'd be like, "You don't have $500." So I could see you rejecting that because you're like, "Did you? Perhaps you've had a head injury or some other reason that you're trying to give me this money." So that's not even a good example. And I was just horrified. I mean, from the quotes, I just I it's so. I mean, as a person who was eligible for the free lunch pretty much my entire growing up, you know, I, the stigmatization of that makes me and that's just one piece of this.
Hmm.
The stigmatization of that makes me. It just hurts me because I know
Yes.
what that feels like, and it's not a good feeling at all. So to have, it's not a good feeling to have other students stigmatize that. It's certainly not a good feeling to have adults who've been elected by the
Mhm.
community to do what's best for you stigmatize that
Yeah.
and say that you're a food addict. you know
Yeah.
that you're addicted to getting a reasonable number of calories, and you're spoiled. um so on that level, it's so, and I know this is one school district out of the entire country. Maybe this story's blown up in my head bigger than it needs to be. Maybe this is just a ridiculous example of a school district, but it just seems like we've seen so many stories, more so than ever. I feel like is how I feel, of this complete lack of empathy and this complete,
Mhm.
um just this, I mean, stigmatization is seems to be the word of everything all the time, and things that are not fair, things that are out of people's control. I mean, and things like this. Again, this is such a win, to provide students, to ensure that your students have um appropriate meals and appropriate number of calories to do the learning that they
Mhm.
need to do to go out and get jobs, and or whatever they're going to do with their lives, and contribute to their country, in
Mhm.
whatever way, contribute to their communities, contribute to their countries in whatever way. And there are all sorts of different ways to do that, to get the education that's going to help them do that, and help them, um, be better citizens, be more productive citizens, whatever your standards are. Education helps all of it.
Mhm. It does.
um,
And we are so obsessed with health and people keeping healthy, and there's so much stigmatization of health.
yeah.
Having enough to eat can really cut down on health problems.
And so I don't know what the I it, it's such a win-win to me, especially if it's
Oh,
not your
yeah.
money. It's such a win-win to me,
Oh,
not just for
yes.
the students, not even if you don't want to, even if you don't want to think of it in an empathetic or a charitable fashion. To me, it's just the absolute height of enlightened self-interest. Like, yes, let us
Yes.
make sure our kids have what they need to learn, and then they will continue to, they will do the things that we would like to do to
Mhm.
grow our country and support our world and all that good stuff. I yeah, I it's I don't know. This story made me a little insane, because it felt like it
Mhm.
felt almost
Mhm.
like the straw that sort of it was like one thing too many. It was like one um horrible, miserable, um anti-human, anti-compassion story too many for me. Like, it was
Oh,
like, this is the
yes.
thing. This was like too much. I can't take it anymore. I'm shutting down. I'm
Don't
going
worry
back to my
because
room.
I'm gonna make it worse
Oh,
in a
good. I hope you
moment.
have something else. And
Um,
the other thing too, I don't know I know people get in all sorts of weird psychological tizzies that get them into these realms, and a lot of it has to do, we've talked about social media and the news that's constantly warning you against what other people are doing, and the people that are taking the school. I mean, part of it too is the people that this disproportionately affects. You're talking about students of color.
mhm.
You're talking, and poor people in general. So there's a class angle here,
Of course there is.
and that comes with a, oh, they are less than us, so why do they deserve free food?
Mhm.
And there's the race angle, which is, oh, they're less than us, why do they deserve free food? And then there's the
Right?
class and race angle together.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, I really think, and that seems to be what's going on in people's head, whether they admit it or not, is, oh, these people are less than us, why do they deserve free food? And maybe there's a rationalization of, oh, they're never going to contribute anything anyway, so why should we help? I don't know.
Well, and I think a part of it is that idea like, well, they're getting free food and I'm not. Like, but yeah, you don't want the free food. Like, I don't want to eat like a chicken nugget dinner with an apple on the side, you know?
And also, well, keep this in mind though. And yes, what you say is absolutely true much of the time. In this case, everybody would get the free food. That's what they're
Yeah, so
turning
it would
down.
be like my kids would get the free food as well. Everybody would get the free
So it's
food.
like it's not even like, oh well, why should they get free food when I don't get free food? It's sort of like, why should we all get free food when I deserve free food more? Is sort of what's going on. Like
Yeah.
it's another level.
Well, what I'm thinking is these adults are like, well, they shouldn't get it because I'm not getting it. I
I
was like, yeah, but you're
guess.
an adult. This is
Yeah.
for the children. I'm never going to understand an argument that involves not nourishing children.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
all
know.
right, the campaigns where people are like, we need to give kids apples and not cookies. Give them something to eat. Give them an apple or a cookie. Like, I don't have as big a horse in that race. But anybody who comes down hard on the side of, no, the children should go hungry.
Yeah.
I don't understand that person. And also, I'm going to throw this out here conjecture, just like I was doing about the B 52s. I bet you anything the people who don't want to feed the children are the people who also are anti choice.
I mean, yeah, that's very possible. And again, these are, it's important to keep in mind these are elected representatives. I
Yes.
assume these people have made theirs. If you have an entire school board of people who feels this way, I assume they made themselves. I assume that's clear to the community. I mean, I have to assume that the community is not shocked by this. If they are, maybe they'll all be voted out next time. I don't know, but you have to assume that if you have the majority of a school board that is immediately going to go, no, 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 we do not want the free money to
Mm-hmm.
give to feed starving children in our
Right.
community, some of whom are
Oh,
our
yeah.
children. I have to assume the community is fairly well behind this. Maybe they'll make themselves known, and maybe I'm incorrect about that, but it'd be nice if I were. And these are just,
It would be
this just
nice.
happens to be a small group of completely deranged, sociopaths that have just revealed themselves just now. I don't know, but I have a feeling that's not the case. So,
Yes, I have to agree with you. I think that is, it's quite unlikely that this is, the community is sitting there going, what?
yeah.
They voted this down? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it's awful. And so to kind of try to dovetail with that, what I want to know
You're going to
is
try to
it
one up
seems
me, aren't you?
like, no, I'm going to just try to let you know what's gotten me really confused lately, because obviously the story that you brought up about we're not going to feed the children, we're not going to give them proper nutrition so that they can concentrate during the day and grow up, big and strong.
Sorry, not to be
We
pedantic. Let me just clarify. The story was about we're not going to let other people feed the children. We don't have to
Yes,
do anything.
yes.
We don't have to raise a finger. Sorry, just being
We are going
pedantic there.
to
But go
we're
ahead.
going to deny the children's feeding.
We're
We are
going
going
to.
to actively ensure that the children will not be fed.
There you
We
go.
will bar them from that because we're going to make them tough. We don't want them addicted to these calories. We don't want any soft little snowflakes out there. We want tough. We want lean, real lean
Yep.
because they
Yep.
don't have
Real
anything
lean,
to eat because
extremely.
we
Yeah.
stopped them from getting the food that they would have been given
Yep.
by someone else, not us. So in Utah, a teacher who is caught making controversial statements in class is no longer an employee.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out how this works with the we are raising these no nonsense, tough, lean, mean. They're not addicted to anything. They don't expect anything from anyone. I'm assuming they're, straight talking. They take no guff from anybody. These hungry, hungry kids.
I would
They're
vote for you right now.
strong,
You just sound like it's exactly what you're talking about.
right? So, this teacher is no longer working in Lehigh, Utah, because
Okay.
they're caught on video making statements in class about masks and vaccines, politics, and former Donald Trump, who was the president, obviously. And the person has been let go, or they have been encouraged to leave. And one of the things that Kenyon said was about the vaccine. I'm like so over it. I will be super proud of you if you choose to get the vaccine. Sounds pretty straightforward and tough,
Seems
but maybe.
shouldn't be controversial in any reasonable world, but
Yep, she said that she hates Donald Trump. She says, go tattle on me to the admins. They don't give two hoots about me. She urged the students to turn off Fox News. And she said that it's her classroom and they're going to wear their masks and she shouldn't have to pretend that she likes that the school is open with viruses. And she does say that most of y'all parents are dumber than you. I'm going to say that out loud. My parents are freaking dumb. And the minute I figured that out, the world opens up. You don't have to do everything your parents say, and you don't have to believe everything your parents believe because most likely you are smarter than them. And the teacher also warned students not to say anything derogatory to students who are LGBTQ plus.
All
So
right.
to me, it really sounds like this teacher was speaking her mind. She was rough and tumble. She was taking no guff. She was giving those students the straight T. But then, some of the parents, they saw it and they were just shocked and they were just mad about what they saw. And one parent says, I didn't understand the severity of what happened until I saw the video. And she would have never imagined her daughter would have to hear something like that at school. Not for the first day, not ever. And then the president of the American Federation of Teachers of Utah said that he cringed when he watched the video. It was surprising that a dialogue with that, like that, would happen in a classroom. This is not the norm. And there is talk that the students felt bullied, the students felt pushed around. So what I need to know is, are we trying to make them tough, or are we making them into snowflakes? What are we doing with the kids here?
Well, and this is the thing. So, I mean, depending on how some of that was presented, like, okay, that is
I watched the video.
all right. That is, I
It
mean,
was it was a teacher being emphatic. It was nothing back in our day that we
yeah.
didn't see half the teachers doing, just giving us the straight tea, telling us about life. And this
Yeah.
was you know, this was a
Well,
high school. It wasn't like these were first graders.
well, and we see the whole thing, we see this wherever that line is or wherever that line ought to be. You can never find it because we see so much of this stuff where it's the cancel culture and these snowflakes and the F your feelings and all that stuff. And
Yes,
then
that's the
the minute somebody says something like, "Oh, you should probably go get a vaccine," people are like, "What? How dare you? I am offended and my feelings are very hurt right now." That kind of thing.
I
So it's
know. Stop bullying my child.
so
Like, wait
it's
a minute, wait a minute, wait. Either everybody gets a trophy.
yeah, it's wherever that, like, if I were a teacher, I don't know. I would probably not well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, again, so I don't know where that line should be. Because, in an ideal world, you want to encourage students to think for themselves. You don't necessarily want to hide your own feelings, but you don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
want to um you don't want to indoctrinate kids with your own ideas about how things are. Uh so but again, you don't want to lie, you don't want to pretend you're something you're not or pretend you're completely neutral on things that are important. So um I get it. So I don't know where that line ought to be. But again, it's the same people where you know the the political correctness, cancel culture, F your feelings crowd, they're
I
awfully sensitive.
know.
I don't know how,
They
there's no other way to
really
put it. They're the
are.
most sensitive people on the planet.
They
Cuz
that is the darn thing because it's all like, "Oh, we're tough and ready to rumble and we'll get you and we drink your liberal snowflake tears for breakfast." My goodness, there were so many tears about the poor tender children.
well, and
And I
there's
watched the video. It wasn't like the teacher was having everybody pretend to hold hands because you can't touch anybody in school anymore and sing kumbaya.
yeah.
But it was nothing egregious.
Well, and I, there's I don't know, man. Just it's so it's because there's plenty of stuff when they talk about like cancel culture. There are people who there are celebrities who take the example of a celebrity who said something that really bothers me or something anti-queer or whatever it is. 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, I'm just like, well, I'm not gonna buy tickets to see that person ever again.
Mhm, mhm.
I don't feel like watching their show. I'm not gonna watch their show anymore. I don't like it. Doesn't makes me
Yep.
uncomfortable. I don't like it there. I'm not
Yeah.
out in the street crying because I'm so upset. If you ask me, sure, I'll tell you this is why I'm upset. This is why I don't like this person, or this
Yeah.
is why I don't feel good about this person. But I'm not like, you know, I'm not like I have to take my kid out of school because the teacher told me they watched Roseanne. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just you kind of go, well, I'm checking that off my list and moving on because I don't feel like I just don't want to. I don't want my money going to that person anymore or whatever. Um, there's and drama certainly doesn't always have a political angle, but I think there are whiny people on both sides. Frankly, it's but
There
but
are.
when you get the when you have the people who are so emphatic that nothing will ever get to them, nothing bothers them. Again, yeah, they'll drink your tears. They're gonna. Meanwhile, they're stockpiling. I'm generalizing radically here. They're stockpiling 80,000 guns because they're terrified of whoever's going to pull up
Yeah.
because the mailman pulled into the driveway the wrong way and they got scared. I mean, it's yes, it's there's a lot of this that strikes me as very hypocritical.
Yeah, it just I'm like, "Really? Oh my goodness, it's so very delicate."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. What I really wish I would have been able to see, and I guess maybe I should have Googled around really hard for this, but, I would have liked to see some of the students' reactions.
Yeah.
Because I know when we were kids, I had a teacher who I found out it was shocking when he did it in my class, but then I met other people who went to the same school that I did. He did this every year to kind of establish dominance over third graders, I believe it was.
Okay.
He would throw a kid across the room every
Huh.
year. Yeah, like he'd find the troublemaker kid, and usually it was a boy. I only ever heard about boys getting thrown across the room. Pick him up by the collar and just pitch him.
Huh.
Which I have to admit, that kind of thing these days, I would be like, I think it's time for a leave, at least a leave. You just threw a child across a room.
Yeah.
Because I remember it. I remember the kid going airborne. He smashed into another kid's desk. I remember the look of the kid whose desk like came flying at him when the kid smashed into it. He was also very like, okay, one of my classmates has just been thrown at me.
Even when we were kids, I
It
know this
made
was
an
a long time
impression.
ago. Even when we were kids, I think this was a long time ago, but even when we were kids, I think that was probably frowned on most of the time that
I think it probably was.
you would throw a child, but I know you.
I think so. I think it was somehow or another he got away with it.
Mhm. Interesting.
I remember it clearly. But
Yeah.
it's funny to me now how I guess I probably didn't go home and tell my parents. Some kids must have.
Some kids must have. Well, and
I guess the
that
parents were probably just like, well, be good in his class then.
yeah. Well, and there's I don't like to romanticize the past, but I don't like to romanticize the present either
No.
if I can help it. And
Right.
there's a middle ground there between um
Gotta be somewhere.
you know a teacher looked at you a teacher rolled their eyes at you, so
Right.
now I'm protesting in front of the school board
Yes.
versus like your teacher threw you across the room and the parents are like, well, I don't know, I guess you're just going to be better next
Nothing.
time. there's a
That,
there's
yeah,
a
there
there's the
has to be
stereotypical
somewhere.
there's the stereotypical way that parents used to behave in the past, which is a little bit true, at least a little bit true. And then there's the stereotypical way that parents behave now, which is a little bit true, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, Neither one of them is probably quite the right way to go
No.
for me. It's like a
No,
little bit of
there's definite extremes. Because
because
thinking about it, I am positive that I mean, maybe some parent called the school. I never heard a thing about it, but either we didn't tell our parents or the parents are just like, well, don't get in trouble.
I think if there were a teacher, I there'd be limits to this, but I mean, if there were a teacher that was like, my kid had a teacher that was like, well, I love Donald Trump. Obviously, if you listen to the show, I'm not a huge Donald Trump fan. If my kid had a teacher who
Right.
was like, I love Donald Trump, I'd be like, well, you know what? People are entitled to their. I'd be like, bear that in mind. It's something to think about, but
Yeah.
people are entitled to their opinions. You're going to meet people with different political views than you. So, um, you know, let me maybe let me know if this goes someplace weird, if they're suddenly like, oh, and I hate gay people or whatever. That becomes a different story. But
Right.
I'm not, I wouldn't, or they were like, I hate Joe Biden, or I hate, I don't know, some whatever, I'm
Right.
I'm not, I'm usually
They were
not
teaching in class that there was like a 5G chip in the
right.
vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, there are limits. Don't get me wrong, but if someone was like, they liked a politician that I didn't like, or didn't like a politician that I kind of like, I mean, I'm not that into politicians usually, where like you can offend me that hard by saying something bad about them. But I would, up to a point, I would be like, well, this is probably a learning experience too, and be aware that people have different views, and you have to take in all views sometimes, and you're going to encounter people in life, and that's how it is. So it would have to go a lot further than that for me to be like, makes
Yeah.
sense, delicate ears. Can I give
Yeah.
you a
Because
can I
go
give you
on.
can I give you a little school lesson while we're talking about school
I would love to have a little school lesson.
real
It's
quick?
been
And
a long time. I'm probably going to fail.
I think this is going to be the first show ever that we're actually going to get through all the topics we talked about.
The
um
only quizzes I ever do are on BuzzFeed, so I'm probably not going to do so great.
no, it's not a quiz. So this is a thing. So I'm like big history guy, right?
Yes,
and
you
i
are.
and I'm
And
Mr.
more and
like
more and more so.
and I'm Mr. Woke White History as well. Like, teach me about the history of our indigenous peoples. I want to know about Black
Yes.
history in America. I'm that white guy. That's me. That's my whole thing. So the
Yes.
fact that I didn't know
It's
about
one of
this
the
is
many
like,
reasons we love you.
the fact that I didn't know about this in 2021 is like shocking and embarrassing to me personally, and also tells me that our education system is so far beyond, so far um below what it needs to be. But also, like, I'm personally embarrassed by this. So this was, Amber Ruffin had a thing on her show, and then Michael Harriot, who writes for The Root, had a
Yes.
piece about this on Twitter. So this was two places that I came across this that I had never known before in my entire life, in the middle of a pandemic. So do you know, Heather, do you know who pretty much invented the idea of inoculation?
Oh,
Do you think it was a wealthy white person?
it was not.
Do you think it might have been an enslaved black man?
Yes, I think, yeah. And
Did you know
I
that?
need to not interject too much. I saw like a listicle with that
Recently
fact
or a
on
long
it.
time ago?
Only recently, like
Okay.
3 months ago.
And I'm shocked. Again, I'm shocked at myself. So I'm not putting this entirely on our culture, because I'm shocked at myself that I didn't know this. But also the fact that we've been in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement, um, all these other things going on, and no one's going, oh, by the way, with all this going on that's very relevant right now, did you know that this enslaved black man named Onesimus, he was the property of Cotton Mather, a very prominent, and someone you do learn about in school, um, and was basically like, very long life story of this person short, was basically like, oh, back where I come from in Africa, with smallpox, we would, we'd you'd cut a little notch into the skin, and you'd put a little bit of the
Mm-hmm.
infected smallpox stuff in there, and then the person might get a little sick, but they would pretty much never die from smallpox. And people were like, what? That's ridiculous. You're trying to kill us. And people thought like, oh, the black person's trying to kill us, which
Mm-hmm.
I would have respected that strategy as well. But
Yes. Yeah.
even, I mean, I'm not gonna I'm not throwing any shade at
I mean,
a an enslaved person who's trying to kill trying to kill all the owners. That would have been smart. In fact, might have respected him even a little more. But but basic, and explained how they did this and how it worked. So this whole idea of inoculation, which at least as it developed in modern times, was an idea that came from Africa and was given to given to Americans by this enslaved black person named Onesimus, who, of course, got nothing out of it. But they decided to
Right.
try this for whatever reason, even though people were up in arms about it, and found out it worked. Like they found out, like, oh, if we once people got around to doing sort of a scientific comparison, oh, like 2% of people who got the inoculation died of smallpox versus 15,
Mm-hmm.
16, 17% or more who didn't get the inoculation. And this is like a super, um,
Right.
that 2% is even during this is not a carefully managed little ampule
Mm-hmm.
of an inoculation that you're giving somebody. This is literally cutting open someone's arm and squirting some smallpox into the hole. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you're lucky you didn't die just from that. But I mean, like, how do we not know that? How do I not know
I
that personally?
know.
But how do we not know that? How do we not
I
talk about
know.
that? That's the wildest thing that
Yeah.
is not coming up all the time. So thank you, Amber Ruffin, for taking me to school, because I needed to go
Yes.
to school on that. So thank you.
100%.
That's all I got.
I love it.
Yeah, that's it.
And you know what else
I'm
I
done.
love?
That's all I got. Time to go. That's all I got.
Yeah, it is time to go. Because you know what else I love, Roz?
What do you love?
I love the fantastic program Music Matters,
I've heard that
which is
about you.
coming up next on WAYO LP Rochester. So stay tuned because they're fun. Do I really smell like poo?
I didn't want to say anything.
You've been going on about it for like 5 minutes.
I mean, it's a lot. it's I mean, it's just
You haven't stopped. I don't think I do. I can't smell it.
I mean, I guess it's more of a rich loam mixed with
Which is a
legumes.
beautiful earthy smell.
Yeah. It's like earthy poo poo. I don't like earth smell. I'm not from the country.
I'm a
Sorry.
farmer.
I know. You are not.
I like farming.
I know you do.